welcome back to my world of stuff. My name is Paul Mount. Thank you very much for your forbearance over the last few days. As I mentioned in my previous video, COVID was at home. COVID is still at home. It's Saturday night. I've still got the lurgy. I did another test yesterday, Friday. Still came back positive. I'm hoping that tomorrow's Sunday, but lunchtime if I do another test, hopefully I might have eased out of it, but it might be another day or two until I'm clear. I have to say I think I've been lucky in terms of COVID because it hasn't been a very heavy dose. I felt a bit rough. I felt very tired, which I know is one of the symptoms, so I've been resting up quite a lot and taking quite long naps, which has been quite nice. Unfortunately, the side effect of that is I haven't been able to sleep that well in the evenings. I've had a cough, I've had a bit of sneezing, a bit of sniffling, but no sore throat, nothing too debilitating. My appetite has declined slightly. I haven't been incredibly hungry, which is probably quite a good thing. I think it's been inconvenient more than anything else, and I appreciate that a lot of people have suffered a lot worse than I have historically with this thing. But it's just been a nuisance because I've not been able to get out and about and do things that I needed to do or wanted to do last week. Being confined to barracks, which isn't too bad. There's plenty of things to do. So, I think I'm coming at the end of it. But as of this particular moment, Saturday night, I've still got it. And you might tell there's a little bit sort of nasally to my voice, or even more nasally than usual to my voice. So I'm hoping the next day or so will clear it. But I wanted to do a video, mainly to talk about the Doctor Who news that came out from San Diego Comicon yesterday. I know it's stale news now, and you've all heard about it, and you all know what it is, and you're either excited about it or couldn't be less interested in it. But I thought I'd just give my reactions to it, because the main part of the news was something which has been rumoured for quite some time. I'm not sure if I've mentioned it previously in a Doctor Who video. I might well have alluded to it. I tend not to talk too much about rumours. I'd rather deal in facts. I just deal in facts. But there have been rumours for a while about this Doctor Who spin-off. And as I think I've mentioned before, the Disney deal with BBC for Doctor Who, or with Disney and BBC Studios and Bad Wolf rather, was for a package of 26 episodes. That being 2 8-part seasons, the 3 anniversary specials, 2 Christmas specials, and a 5-part spin-off. And this 5-part spin-off has been rumoured for a little while. There's been talk about what it was going to be, and the usual internet detectives have ferreted around, and they found certain things which are pointed towards what has now been confirmed at the Doctor Who panel in Hall H at the San Diego Comic-Con yesterday. Russell T Davies announced the start of production next month of a 5-part spin-off called The War Between the Land and the Sea. This is a title that has been bandied around over the past few months. And basically it sees the return of the Sea Devils, the classic Doctor Who. I'm not going to call them villains, because they weren't necessarily villains. I think in an example of Doctor Who preaching, back in the 70s, they were telling a story about creatures who were the original inhabitants of Earth, who had gone into hibernation when they thought that the Earth was going to be plunged into an ice age by a comet or something like that. And then they went into hibernation, and their hibernation units were triggered hundreds of years later. And of course, being the original owners of the planet, they wanted it back. That's the story of the Sea Devils. In fact, it is, I suppose, the only story of the Silurians, who are the Earth-based, the land-based version that we first saw in 1970 in Doctor Who, and the Sea Devils that we saw in 1972. We saw the Sea Devils again in one of Chris Chibnall's less successful special episodes, The Legend of the Sea Devils, a few years ago. And it's interesting to see that we're going to have this new 5-part drama based on them awakening again. And from what Russell T Davies said about the story yesterday, it's going to be lecturing again, and people don't like that. But I think it's a valid story and a valid point to be made, and it's something that the show touched on in the episode Praxeus a few years ago, which wasn't particularly good. But that was about pollution and humanity poisoning the seas. And that is something that I think the Sea Devils, if they woke again, would quite rightly rise up against. The sea is their domain, and to see what humans have done with pollution and dumping toxic waste and the way just domestic people treat the sea, I think it is right for that sort of story. So I don't think it's quite so much a case of preaching. I think it's just what Doctor Who's done over the past few years is shine a light on a contemporary issue. A lot of people don't like that. A lot of people want Doctor Who just to be running up and down corridors and fighting monsters. But I think it's moved beyond that now, and sometimes Doctor Who, as it always has got something to say. But anyway, in the terms of what the series is, it's written by Russell T Davies and Pete McTeague. Pete McTeague, I think he actually wrote Praxis, come to think of it, so yeah, this sort of carries on a theme. So it's obviously a theme that is important to him. Pete McTeague, as many of you may know, he has written and directed the little mini-sodes that have trailed the Doctor Who Blu-ray box sets that have been coming out over the last few years. He knows his Doctor Who. And in fact, a friend of mine did suggest yesterday that this could be him working alongside Russell T Davies to possibly take over the show-running position when Russell T Davies moves on, which he is sure to do at some point. So it'll be interesting to see how this pans out, because it'll be interesting to see Russell sharing writing duties with another writer. This reminds me of Torchwood Children of Earth, a 5-part event series, which is one of the big hits of summer, I think 2009, I'm thinking, possibly. Anyway, Torchwood Children of Earth was a huge 5-part hit. I don't know anything about this series. I don't know if this is going to be an adult type thing or whether it's going to appeal to the same broad family audience as Doctor Who. I hope it's a bit more adult, because I think there's a lot to be mined there. I think I'd like to see Doctor Who, the Whoniverse, stepping up a little bit and becoming a bit more adult. We know now that it's going to star Russell Tovey and Gugu Mbatha Raw. These are names that we know from Doctor Who. They've both appeared in Doctor Who before. Gugu Mbatha Raw played Tish Jones. She was a sister to Martha Jones, played by Freema Agyeman in season 3. And Russell Tovey, who is well known from all sorts of TV series, he played Midshipman Frame in the Christmas special a few years back, the one with Kylie Minogue, Voyage of the Damned, and he made a brief reappearance in David Tennant's finale episode, End of Time Part 2. There were rumours before this announcement that Martha herself, played by Freema Agyeman, will be back. And that rumour built up a lot of traction over the past few weeks. And it doesn't seem to be the case. I'm slightly disappointed by that, because I do think that Freema Agyeman is a very good actress. I think Martha was a very good character, and I think they could do more with her. But whether Russell now wants to move away a little bit from his own personal Doctor Who past and move forward with new characters, and that's certainly what he's doing, because he has confirmed that Russell and Gugu Mbatha Raw will be playing different characters. And I suppose it would be a bit odd to have Martha Jones back, played by Freema, and the actress who played her sister not playing her sister. I think, although there's no issue with actors coming back to shows playing different parts, I think that would be a little bit close to the bone in terms of casting, to have the character who played the sister playing somebody else. It would be just feel a bit odd, although I'm sure most of the audience wouldn't know. The story itself then, as I've said, it appears to be this life form from under the sea has risen up and wages war against mankind, and UNIT are involved in what's going to be a pretty spectacular epic battle, apparently. UNIT represented particularly by Gemma Redgrave as Kate Lethbridge-Stewart, who's been a Doctor Who stalwart now since the early 2010s. And Alexander Devrient, who's been appearing as Colonel Ibrahim in the last few unit-based episodes. I'm pleased about this, because I think this is a good, strong, solid character who's really only had a handful of lines in the episodes he's been in. And there was that little hint in, I think, the last episode, Empire of Death, that there's something little spark between him and Kate. So it'd be nice to see him stepping up to the plate and being given a bit more of a character. It's nice to have UNIT back, but back in the old days we had the UNIT family of Benton and Yates and various other characters who were supporting the Brigadier. So it'd be nice to build up that family of UNIT characters, not just the scientific side, but the military side. So I'm quite pleased to see that he's going to be featuring quite heavily. Apart from the rest of the cast, we don't know who else is in it. Russell mentioned at the Hall H panel, which is online if you want to see it, that there are other castings yet to be made. So maybe it's not impossible that other characters from the Whoniverse will appear. But I think what we've got here, it sounds like it's going to be an exciting international thriller, because he also mentioned that it starts filming next month all over the world. So I think this might make up for the lack of international filming in Doctor Who, because we're going to see a bit of globe-trotting action. I think it's going to be a big, spectacular sort of series, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm actually looking forward to it more than the next series of Doctor Who, if I'm honest. It's nice to see Doctor Who spreading its wings a bit, and I think it also hopefully pours a bit of cold water in all these Disney dumping Doctor Who rumours. And I say I know this is part of the original deal, but it seems like it's quite a big thing. And Doctor Who seems to have had quite a big presence at Comicon. There's even a sort of a mock-up of part of the TARDIS control room in there that people can have their photographs taken in. Doesn't shout to me of Disney distancing themselves from a failed series. So I think that a lot of this really strengthens Doctor Who position rather than weakens it. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this spin-off. As I say, I enjoyed Torchwood. I think Sarah Jane Adventures was particularly good. And those were the great, strong Doctor Who spin-offs. The only other spin-off we had really was Class a few years ago during the Peter Capaldi era, which was horribly misjudged and mistimed. It wasn't the right time for a Doctor Who spin-off, and there wasn't a lot of support behind it or a lot of faith in it, really. And it sank without trace. So I think it's time now for something else to come along, riding on Doctor Who's coattails and building on this concept of the Whoniverse, and I'm hoping it does well, so I'm looking forward to it. The other thing we had from Comicon was what I'm pretty sure was the pre-credit sequence for this year's Christmas special, and I'm quite surprised that we saw this. There was a brief video message from Nicola Coughlan, who's the guest star in the episode. She plays a character called Joy, because the episode is called Joy to the World. See what they did there? It's written by Stephen Moffat. I know. So I thought there might be a brief clip or something, but I wasn't expecting the extended credit sequence. And I think if you didn't know it was written by Stephen Moffat, you would know within seconds it was written by Stephen Moffat. It did something he did quite a lot in his time on the series. It had lots of sort of random scenes of the Doctor turning up in places and doing things. He did a lot of that with Matt Smith's episodes. He would suddenly appear somewhere and say something funny and then bugger off. And this was much the same sort of thing. It started off with a scene in World War II with this elderly couple bemoaning the passing of a way of life with the war raging. And then suddenly a door opens and the Doctor bounds out with a tray with a pumpkin latte and a ham and cheese toasty. And then he goes back into the room. He goes back through the door. Then he reappears on the Orient Express in the 1920s. Enters a carriage with a young woman reading Murder on the Orient Express. Offers her a pumpkin latte and a ham and cheese toasty. Wrong room! Then he's at the base camp in Everest. Do you see where this is going? This is typical hilarious Stephen Moffat writing. And then we're introduced to this character of Joy, who pulls up at the Sandringham Hotel in 2024 in London, which is actually the Sandringham Hotel in Cardiff, I know it. And she books a room. Suddenly a door opens and a Silurian, one of the Stephen Moffat era human-faced Silurians, comes in. And then the Doctor bounds in and gives Joy the pumpkin latte and the ham and cheese toasty, and then bursts into a big smile. Cue credits. Not very inspiring. I mean, it's nice enough, but it's very Stephen Moffat. So my hopes were not high for the Christmas special, and this clip hasn't raised them particularly. It doesn't give you any sense of what the story's about, other than the fact it's going to be more light-hearted Stephen Moffat japery. It's fine if you like stuff like that, but it's not for me. So I'm prepared to shrug all my way through the Christmas special and look forward to episodes to come afterwards. Right, that's me on what's happened at the San Diego Comic-Con in relation to Doctor Who. Just my thoughts. As I said, this is all out there. You'll know all this. You've seen all this. I'm just talking about it rather than reporting on it. So I hope you've enjoyed my views on these upcoming Doctor Who treats, particularly the spin-off. Let me know what you think. You looking forward to the War Between the Land and the Sea, which was incidentally a line from 73 Yards. And when I heard the Doctor saying that line at the beginning, I thought, okay, because I knew that this series was sort of on the boil, and this was the rumoured title, so it all ties in. So yeah, are you looking forward to the spin-off? Speaking of spin-offs, what other spin-offs do you think that there could be? There's a whole universe of Doctor Who and characters, modern and classic. So what other spin-offs do you think that you would like to see, whether they will actually happen or not, but what areas do you think Doctor Who could explore as it expands its universe? Right, thank you for watching. Thank you for bearing with me during this bout of illness, as I'm hoping to be properly back in action in the next few days and catching up with a few films and bits and pieces that I've missed. Thank you for watching. I will see you soon. Until I do, keep taking the stuff.